Hello and welcome to the NBA Outlet presented by OTGBasketball.com. Your host, Nick Fay. With me, as always, Kory, Waldron, and special guest, regular on the show, Jorge Cantu. What is up, fellas? How we doing?
I'm doing great. Obviously happy to be back on the show. It's been some time, but hey, happy to be back as always.
Always a pleasure to have you on, Jorge. I expect you to disagree with everything I say on today's show.
That's why I come.
That's why he's here, debate with Kory. But as always, guys, check out the show, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, Dash Radio, YouTube, and Google Play. But getting right into it, guys, one of the biggest storylines this season so far was, the Boston Celtics. They're going to be able to compete with the Golden State Warriors. They're going to be the best team in the Eastern Conference. To start the season, they're 10-10. Offensive rating 27th in the league. Defense still great at second in the league. But what has been wrong with the Celtics, and are you concerned about them?
So, I don't want to sound like that guy who says, I told you, but if you might remember in the hot take marathon series, I kind of threw one around that, and I mentioned Gordon Hayward may kind of ruin the Boston Celtics chemistry. And I don't want to be that guy who puts all the blame on him, because it's clearly not. The players overall have also been kind of underperforming, especially the younger guys who I think a lot of us set high expectations on them based on what they were able to do last year. But, the Gordon Hayward experiment doesn't seem to be going too well, right? And it's crazy to think that a team without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward was just a couple of buckets away from the NBA Finals, and now they get those two studs back, and they're struggling. Doesn't make sense, right?
I mean, yeah, this is obviously a disappointing start. The offense, I was watching them against the Mavericks last night. They just look so discombobulated. I'm not sure Brad Stevens has the rotation set up. I don't even think he knows who his best five guys are at this point in time. Obviously, you're right on Gordon Hayward. He's just not right. He's not anywhere near the Gordon Hayward he was prior to the injury. Doesn't look like he trusts himself yet fully. He doesn't drive to the rim as fearlessly as he used to. He used to average 6 free throw attempts a game. He's only averaging 2 so far this year. And obviously his shooting splits are dreadful at 40 and 28. He just hasn't been good. He probably should be coming off the bench. I know he started in 15 or 18 games so far, 15 games so far this year. It's too many. He's just not a starter at this point in time. I'm okay with giving him time. It's a serious injury. He missed an entire year. I didn't expect him to set the earth on fire right away, but he just hasn't been that good. Jaylen Brown has been underwhelming as well, which hasn't helped them, even though he had a decent offensive night last night. And then you look at the other guys. I mean, Terry Rozier, even though the report came out that he wanted to be traded and he denied it, shot it down, I don't think he's happy. He doesn't look like a guy to me who's happy. It looks like he wants to play more minutes and in a bigger role, which is also what we all thought could be an issue. Can you balance all of these egos with all of these guys who, as we mentioned, with Irving and Hayward missing time last year, played big minutes? Jason Tatum doesn't like to drive anymore. He just likes to settle for jump shots. Thank you, Kobe, for simply sabotaging the Celtics by turning Jason Tatum into a great value version of yourself at this point in his career, even though he'll probably be better down the road. I think Jason Tatum's going to be a stud. Really, Marcus Morris has been the best player on this team almost. I mean, Kyrie Irving after the haircut has been phenomenal. They got some holes. They're not even banged up. They're not united, and I don't know what exactly the move is. But at some point in time with this much talent, there's going to be a panic button that Danny Ainge and the Celtics press.
Now, Kory, you mentioned a couple guys. Jorge, you mentioned a couple guys. Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier. Out of those three, who do you think is struggling the most and having the most, causing the most negative impact with the team?
I'm going to say Jaylen Brown. I'll hop in and just say Jaylen Brown. Shooting 39 and 25% on splits. 11 points per game, only 4 rebounds, 1 assist. The points per game are down 3 points from last year, but the shooting splits are bad. I mean, last year he shot 46 and 39. He's shooting 39 and 25. He's only playing 2 less minutes per game, so it's not like he's getting a drastic less amount of playing time. He just hasn't looked good. And last night he actually left the game with an injury, something to his lower back or
Yeah, he had a hard fall.
Yeah, so we'll see if it's day to day right now. We'll see how long he misses, but he just has he's been very underwhelming, and I think for him is the most surprising because last year, coming into the year, even obviously Hayward got hurt early, but Jaylen Brown looked like a stud most of last year. Hard defensive wing, and he was just very consistent offensively, and I just haven't seen that this year.
What about you, Jorge? Who's been the biggest negative impact? Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, or Terry Rozier?
I mean, Rozier, the thing with Rozier is it doesn't make sense that he would be playing bad because he's on a contract year, right? He's on a contract year and he wants to be traded, and well, it doesn't make sense that he's playing this bad on purpose. So I guess I'll have to say Gordon Hayward, especially because as Kory pointed out, he's just not being aggressive. And I understand this is normal. Like you just jump and your leg just pops in two parts. Of course, you're gonna get scared to try and jump again and be as physical as you were before. But maybe there's like this. How can I call it? Being passive, maybe.
Yep.
Hayward's passiveness is kind of like hurting the Celtics, and definitely he like at this point in time he should not be starting. And well, I think maybe Marcus Morris being the third highest scorer on the Celtics explains a lot about how much the offense is struggling. So yeah, definitely Brad Stevens. As much credit as we gave him last season, he was highly praised and everything, but he needs to just kind of like switch things up. Bringing Hayward off the bench would not every game. That would not be a crazy idea. He can even work as the like the main scorer, like the offense initiator of the take that kind of role because there were just too many stars on the starting lineup for it to work. And I mean the defense has not been bad at all. They're still second in defensive rating, just behind the Thunder. But yeah, Gordon Hayward needs to tone it down while he gets his confidence back, right?
And he's been Brad Stevens. I think the last couple games is putting him off the bench and starting either Baines or Morris. So obviously something to keep an eye on. And obviously it's a big time injury. Seeing if he can ever get to that type of level, obviously you're going to lose some explosiveness. So obviously it's going to be something to keep an eye on. Now you guys have mentioned a couple different things. Do you think the main reason the offense isn't working is they're not gelling, the chemistry is not great, or some of it's just them not making shots?
It's not making shots, and I'm hopping on first. We're changing the rotation, but
Go ahead.
It's they're missing shots. I mean, at several times this season, it's felt like they have a lid over top the rim or over top the hoop. They've gotten a lot of good looks. Shots at times just haven't been falling. Granted, something the Celtics do a lot this year, which I don't remember them doing last year, is the fact that if they're on like a fast break, like a 2-on-1, a 3-on-2, instead of driving to the hoop, they look to kick out. I know every NBA team does this. They look for the three at all times. But sometimes when you're struggling offensively, get that easy bucket. Go to the rim. Try and get to the line. I just don't see the Celtics team doing that. I'll even, say that this starting lineup, I'm not sure if it's chemistry. It may just be energy. I don't see this starting five start games with any sense of urgency. There's nobody. The most fiery guys on this team come off the bench, and Marcus Smart and Marcus Morris.
Oh yeah.
Jaylen Brown's kind of to himself. Kyrie has his own little swagger about him. Al Horford's, kind of a laid back, voice of reason. Jason Tatum obviously has a lot of confidence, but he's not really fiery. This starting five just doesn't have a high energy guy, which I think kind of has these slow starts for them. So maybe the move could be with Hayward coming off the bench recently. Maybe you interject a Marcus Morris or a Marcus Smart. Not for the offense that they bring, but simply because they're going to play hard and play with an extra bit of energy, and maybe that can get guys off to a hotter start.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Maybe keeping everybody accountable, holding everybody accountable, especially as Kory was mentioning, the energy guys on the team. That's why they brought back Marcus Smart. They didn't bring him back because he's a great 3-point shooter or because he's he has some outstanding abilities. It's basically because he's just so tough and he's the energy guy on the team that they couldn't afford to lose him. And maybe the starters, I don't know, they could have taken things for granted or something. But definitely the shot making they're struggling on that department. They're actually 28th, ranked 28th in the field goal percentage at 43.7. So they're missing a lot of their shots. And their offense right now, it's almost as bad as the tanking Suns, Bulls, and Hawks, who just got lottery picks this last season. So that tells a lot of how much they're struggling on offense. And I agree with Kory on this one. Definitely, they want to give their energy guys a bigger role, and just try to get out of the hole, because this team is way too talented to be struggling this much.
Yeah, obviously right now there's a lot of concern. Now, do you guys think they'll get it right by the time the playoff come, or they'll need to make a trade or adjust this team?
I mean, they're going to be the toughest 8 seed in the Eastern Conference, let me tell you. I mean, I would be really cautious with making a move anytime soon. But if we're right around January, right? I mean, if December is anything like November and October, this team is going to make a move. Terry Rozier will be gone for whatever they think they lack. But I don't think Danny Ainge or Brad Stevens should be rushing to change things, because at the end of the day, they still do have one of the most talented rosters in the league. And it's not like they've been dreadful. Obviously, they got some bad losses. To the Knicks the other night, they were down by double digits. Obviously, they made it a close game late. Then last night against the Mavericks, they kind of hung around, but Mavericks pulled away late. I wouldn't rush to start making moves, only because you just don't know how that generally goes for a team that's quote unquote contending. But I think if you have another 10-10 months, say they're like 20-20 going into 2019, there's going to be a move made.
Yeah, so I'll say this: the only guy that may be traded is Terry Rozier, and that's just because of the crazy situation of him not being comfortable and everything. That's understandable, but I really doubt that Danny Ainge is going to make another move, and that's simply because teams just start slow. Like we saw the Rockets, they struggled, and yes, I know a lot of that had to do with Melo and the defense and whatnot. But then they started making shots. They started figuring things out. They just lost last night for the first time in 2 weeks after starting with a terrible record. Wouldn't know exactly what it was, but they're terrible. And then they started making shots, feeling themselves, and they got better. And I think that's what will eventually happen with the Celtics. Like they'll eventually find their way, find a way to incorporate Gordon Hayward better, maximize Kyrie. The defense should continue to be amazing and everything. And I think that they should just have everything figured out by the time the playoffs come. I wouldn't say they would be the first, second, third, fourth seed. I have no idea, because everything can happen with this Celtics team. Actually, quick plug of the DFS articles, Daily Fantasy. I don't do Celtics games. Never this season, because they're very unpredictable and hard. So given that, I don't know where they'll finish in the standings, but they have a top 4 seed guaranteed, because I think they just, as I said, they're just too good to be struggling this much by that time. And Brad Stevens is just too good, and Danny Ainge is just too smart, right? And the players, like, they're they're tough and they're good, so they'll find a way to figure it out. That's why I think.
So you guys still feel pretty confident there'll be a team either, competing probably in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Definitely.
I think they'll still be in the conversation. I don't think this team, I think the over-under for Vegas was 59 wins. I don't think they get even close to that at this point. I think this is, and I don't even think they have a chance at the 1 or 2 seed in the East at this point. I think they're going to be looking at a 3-4 seed. Because you got to think, they're 10-10 now. Even if they right this ship, how fast are they going to right this ship? Probably still not for another half a month, 2 weeks. So I do think they will be competing for the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think this is a team that's going to be a top 2 seed in the East.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. A storyline, like we said, going to the season, this was one of the top touted teams, maybe possibly competing with Golden State, and now we're kind of worried about them 20 games in. Obviously, a lot can change. A lot of chemistry needs to come together. But talking about another team that's been a big surprise, that's been the Memphis Grizzlies, 12-6, tied for the number 1 seed. One of our new writers at OTG, Brendan Smart, just wrote a great article about them. How surprised are you by the Grizzlies so far?
I have to say that I'm very surprised. Because I think Mike Conley's absence this last year, it just I don't know, it's almost like we forgot how good these two are. Talking about Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, of course. I personally didn't have in making the playoffs this year. I didn't even enter the possibility of them even fighting, because they didn't even do like too big of a move this offseason. I think they just acquired a Kyle Anderson and maybe a couple of role players, Garrett Temple and stuff. So I was like, that they didn't do anything. Like they might be a lottery team again, with Jaren Jackson still needing to develop and stuff. But Mike Conley and Marc Gasol have been very impressive. Like outside of maybe increasing their efficiency a little bit, but other than that, they've been good. And like the defense, of course, that's what keeps them afloat. The grit and grind culture, all that is still there, and they're closing out tough games. That's just how they're doing it, and because that's the way that they've always known. That's the way they've done things over this grit and grind era, and that's the way they're still doing it. And it's surprising to see both Conley and Gasol playing at a high level, even when they're, especially Gasol. He's getting a little bit older, and Conley, of course, after the injuries, he's not getting any younger either. So I'm definitely very impressed, and I do think they'll be able to maintain that sort of momentum going into the deeper into the season, as long as both Conley and Gasol can keep leading, because thanks to them is why the role players are producing. So after all that I said, I do think that they'll be able to keep the momentum going further down to the season.
I mean, they're not going to be a 1 seed, but this is a playoff team, without question. Yes. If they're healthy, they're a playoff team. I know that in years past, me and Nick have not, we've been heavy on the side of this team probably just can't stay healthy. And when they're healthy, that they prove that they are what they are, what the back of their card says they are, which is a defensive juggernaut. They're 30th in pace. They're 3rd in defensive rating, and they're 23rd in offensive rating. If that's not a Memphis Grizzlies, stat, then I don't know what is. This team's been really solid, led by Gasol and Conley, who have been healthy. I don't even think Conley's been overly impressive. It kind of feels like he's still trying to work back from the injury he suffered last year. He's not shooting, greatly efficient yet. Rookie Jaren Jackson, phenomenal. An absolute stud for them. I didn't expect to see him playing these kind of minutes early, having such an impact. Overall, the rookie class in general, I think this year, we're going to look back as one of the best rookie classes probably in the last decade. And then guys like Garrett Temple have really stepped up this year. Shelvin Mack has been a crucial 6-man for them. They've just got a lot of contributors, and they're playing hard on defense. And, they're limiting teams to just 100 points per game, which is the best in the league. Even though they're scoring a league worst 103 points per game. So it's just funny. This Grizzlies team grinds it out on defense. And shout out to JB Bickerstaff. He's been tremendous with what he's done so far in Memphis. And again, Chandler Parsons, too, has not really been a factor since he only played in 3 games to start the year.
Yeah, I think Bickerstaff deserves a lot of credit. Going to the season, a lot of us weren't very high in the Grizzlies. There was obviously concern with injury, but being where they are now and buying to that grit and grind culture has been really good. I think Jaren Jackson, like you guys brought up, is definitely going to be a nice piece for them, because moving forward, he's most likely going to get better as the season progresses. So that kind of puts their ceiling a little bit higher. What do you expect from the Grizzlies, throughout the rest of the season? Make the playoffs? Where do you think seeding-wise? Middle of the pack, towards the bottom, what?
They look like right now like a middle of the pack team, because definitely they won't be, as Kory said, they won't be a 1, 2, maybe not even a 3 seed, but definitely middle, even the low end of the standings. Of course, talking inside the playoffs, right? Because the West is tough, and you never know which teams can go on a hot streak and start winning games, and maybe the Grizzlies start losing a couple. I think they might fall off a little bit to the bottom half of the playoffs, because, as I said, they're winning games, like they're winning tough games. Their margin of victory right now is just 2.4. So it's a close games that they're getting, and I do believe that they'll be able to continue getting these. But there's some times where the opposing team offense, where you're talking about juggernauts like the Warriors with Steph Curry, or the Rockets when they're at 100%, they're tough to stop. Like there's no other way around it. So I do believe they'll make the playoffs, but maybe like kind of like middle of the pack, lower tier, 7, maybe 8, 6 seed. Like the West is just too tough to predict right now again. But I do believe they're a playoff team right now, definitely, especially with this defense and their 2 stars playing as they are.
Yeah, I think this is a playoff team as long as Mike Conley stays healthy. I think they can survive if Marc Gasol goes down. Maybe not. I mean, they just signed Joakim Noah, whatever that means. But I think if you lose Conley, you're in much worse shape than if you lose Marc Gasol, personally. So it's going to depend on health. I do think this is a playoff team. I would love to see a 4-5 matchup between the Grizzlies and Clippers. I just feel like that would be extremely entertaining to see one of those teams have to move on in a playoff series. Realistically, I think the Grizzlies fall somewhere between the 5 through 8 seed range. I don't think they were. I just think a lot of teams are going to jump them. I'm not that maybe that they get far. Maybe not that they drop themselves, but teams that up them. The Warriors start playing better when Curry gets back. I think the Lakers are going to figure things out. I think the Rockets are coming at some point in time. The Thunder have played decent since Westbrook came back and George has been shooting well. So I think it's a playoff team, but probably just not as high of a seed as they are currently.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think playoff-wise, they're not obviously going to be a 1 seed like you guys said. They'll probably take a drop. The rest of the West will kind of catch up. Everyone deals with injuries or some dry periods. Do you think Memphis should make a trade and kind of boost up their team a little bit before the playoffs, or just stay where it's at and just keep with the squad they have?
I mean, if you're trying to win, if you seriously think you can compete in the playoffs and maybe get to the second round, because realistically you're not winning a title.
Why not? No.
If you think you can add a piece that's going to help you get a deeper playoff run, somebody at the wing position, sure, why not? It's not like they have a ton of assets, I think, that are tradable. But if you can bring in some sort of 3-and-D guy who can help you, then yeah, I say why not make a move? Because it seems like they want to compete now. I mean, they have Conley and Gasol in the prime of their careers. They're not getting any younger. So if you want to give those guys the opportunity to seriously try and win, then you got to add pieces now.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe if they can find a good 3-point shooter down the stretch, that's also a solid defender, because they don't want to mess with their defense, right? They don't want to trade or shake things up too quickly right now, because they're gonna mess up their defense, which is what makes them so good. Like when you're playing at that slow, it's part of, like, the defense is part of what makes everything work for them. So unless you're getting a good 3-point shooter back, again, somebody on the wing maybe, who can stretch the floor and even, like, not be a defensive liability and be able to work in the system that JB Bickerstaff has continued to praise, once again, the grit and grind culture in Memphis, then maybe. But the way it's looking right now, I think they're good. Like, unless they, like, the offense just starts going like terribly for whatever reason, like more, well, yeah, I mean, they play slow, but unless they go worse, they don't need to make any moves, I think.
So there's something to keep an eye on depending on what the Grizzlies are looking to do come postseason time. Moving away from the team-specific stuff over to player-specific. So far this season, guys, who's been your top 3 MVP candidates? I think we'd all probably agree Giannis is definitely in there, possibly number 1, but what would be the other 2?
I don't care what anyone says, like, he's not played enough games, he's not done whatever. Steph Curry belongs there. No, nobody's, like, getting me out of there. And the other one, I mean, you could say, like, LeBron's always the right answer, I guess, and he's especially as of late, he's been playing great for the Lakers. We knew it was gonna take time, but, like, he just killed the Miami Heat. That was hard to watch. He killed the Heat last week, and then he went to the Cavs and closed out the tough game, and he's just looking really good. But maybe guys like the Anthony Davis belong there. But my top 3, I'd say, is definitely Giannis, Steph, and LeBron.
You're gonna.
What's that all about?
I want Curry to be in the conversation, but I just can't until he's back. He's missed 9 games so far now, I think
Probably along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Warriors struggle without
no,
man?
Jorge, I don't disagree with you. I think with him gone, it's shown clear as day that he is the engine that makes this team go, and that they are completely different without him. The ball movement, the confidence, The team is way different. It's clearly Stephen Curry's team, and he is the go factor for that team without question. I think even though Kevin Durant may be the better player, he's not the most important player to that team. But with that said,
excuse me.
With that said, I think for my MVP conversation, as of right now, it's Antetokounmpo, and I think I would probably go with Anthony Davis in that top three. I'm not listing them in any order. It'd be Antetokounmpo, Anthony Davis, and then for third, I'd be kind of hard pressed to not have a tie between LeBron and Kemba. Obviously, LeBron's been picking it up, but Kemba has really been phenomenal to start this season, and I think he deserves to be at least in the conversation for at least the foreseeable future, as long as he keeps this hot streak up.
So you have Kemba as tied for third in the MVP conversation
with LeBron, yeah, because LeBron just turned off autopilot about a week and a half ago.
I mean, Kemba's been good, but
you're about to throw shade at Kemba, aren't you?
No, I don't want to throw shade.
You're gearing up, don't you lie to me.
All of the Hornets fans that are gonna kill me for this one, but I just kind of feel like it's like I don't want to take anything away from him.
You're taking it slow. You're doing it.
But
you're
this may be another case of bad team, good stats. Of course, the Hornets are not that bad, but I'm still I'm not ready to put him there yet. Just not ready. Maybe it's just me hating, but personally, me, nope. I'm not doing that.
I think Kemba deserves some mention, the MVP. I don't know if I have him top three. I think he'd probably be at least top five. I think Antetokounmpo right now is the leader over everybody because he's been the most consistent and probably the most dominant. Then LeBron, I think LeBron has really picked it up in the last week, got himself in the top three. Anthony Davis has dealt with some injury, missed some time. He's kind of slowed down a little bit. He'd probably still be top five. I'm surprised you guys didn't mention Joel Embiid because Embiid has been just a straight monster, 28 points a game, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he's really – kept that ship steady for Philly, even with all the issues going on and the lack of shooting.
I don't think he could be in there, but maybe with all the Sixers' early struggles, he may not get the credit he deserves. And probably with Jimmy Butler arriving, there may be a point where he's just forced to, share the ball a little bit more.
I think I likely just. Because I asked Joel Embiid, as sad as this kind of just slipped my mind when I was thinking about this. I probably would have to put Joel Embiid in the top three, and Anthony Davis would have to probably fall and be behind the tie that I'm not moving on my stance. I think LeBron and Kemba are tied for third, so I think I'd probably have Anthony Davis then at 5, and then Joel Embiid at 2 behind Antetokounmpo. Just a little revision.
And I think one thing for Kemba you got to remember is the lack of, not the disrespect to Hornets players, but there's no other great players on that team. There's a lot of good and, very good players, but no other great players. So it's so much focus. And even that game where I was watching the Hornets versus Celtics where they closed that out in 1, Boston knew exactly where they were trying to go. They were trying to go to Kemba and put up more points, and he still was able to knock down the shot. So I think right now, I don't think he'll be able to keep this pace up, but I think right now it'd be fair to have him in the top 5.
Yeah, especially because, he has career numbers across the board. The most points per game he's ever had, the most assists per game he's ever had, the highest shooting percentage he's ever had in his career from the field, not from 3. But even still, he's shooting more threes than he's ever shot a game, and he's 3 more attempts a game, and he's averaging just 0.1% lower than he did last season. But yeah, I think it just all depends on how long he can keep this hot streak up, which I don't think will be all season. But it's going to be fun for as long as it lasts.
And Borregos deserves some credit, too, for unlocking Kemba and putting him in an offensive scheme that kind of allows him to excel. Even Tony Parker being there, allowing Kemba to play off ball a little bit, has been great, too. But any other thoughts on the MVP conversation before we pass over to Kory for a hot take, shot fake?
No, I think that will be pretty much the top guys in the conversation.
All right, Kory, all you.
All right, so on this new edition of Hot Take, Shot, Fake, I got 3 of these for you guys today. Twitter is a place where
a dangerous place.
Anything and everything can happen. Hot take or shot fake? Damian Lillard is better than Kyrie Irving.
Oh my god!
Like I said, Twitter is a funny place. This is a tough one. I really don't even know how I stand on it.
Yeah, you want to go first, Nick? Because I need some time.
Kory, real quick for the season or in general.
I'm gonna say, because I saw the tweet last night, I'm gonna say based on this season.
Oh,
okay. I will go Dame for the season because I think he's been more consistent. Kyrie had that whole haircut thing where he was pretty bad in the first couple games, where Dame's really carried his team and just had, the Dame time. And obviously, Kyrie's supposed to be the best player on the Celtics, and they're only 10-10, where, the Portland Trail Blazers, I think, have a better record, and they've been performing pretty well considering how their season ended last year.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about this,
1 sec. Hot take.
Oh,
so I have to make sure I get it out there.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're talking this season, I wouldn't disagree. Lillard's better because he's been, and I'm not too big of a Lillard fan because of, he relies too much on tough shot making to put his big numbers up. But I mean, if he's making them, I guess there's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can complain about. But and Kyrie has been, in this lump, and as Nick mentioned, before the haircut, him being trash and everything. Well, not trash, but just not playing.
He was trash before the haircut. You can say it.
well, yeah, let's say it that way. And he obviously picked it up, but Dame, time and time again, he's led the Blazers to a better start than I thought they would, especially after they got swept by the Pelicans. I thought they were just coming into this season all demoralized, but Dame's not that type of guy, and he's again carried the heavy load this season. Major props to Nurkic and McCollum and all the supporting cast in there. So yeah, I'd say hot take, definitely.
All right, the next one. Now this is a spicy one. Hot take or shot fake. De'Aaron Fox will be the best point guard out of the 2017 NBA draft.
Now you're going to make me have to look up the draft class real quick, so give me a moment.
I can tell you the point guards alongside of him. It's Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, Frank Ntilikina, Dennis Smith Jr. I think those are the main. Yeah, those are the main point guards. I think Frank Jackson.
We're talking like after it's all said and done, right?
Right. We're talking about who's going to have the best career out of. It's who has the best career out of the 2017 NBA. Does De'Aaron Fox have the best NBA career out of the 2017 point guard draft class?
Want to go first, Nick?
I'll take De'Aaron Fox. I think the biggest question mark about him becoming a great player was his jump shot, and this year he's proven the jump shot looks a lot better, and the Kings are putting him in a position to succeed. And a lot of the other point guards are dealing with struggles. We know Lonzo can't really knock down a jumper. Markelle Fultz, we're really unsure if he's ever going to be an NBA starter. And then you look at Dennis Smith Jr., he hasn't been overly impressive. That's Luka's show. And Frank, he'll probably be a good player, but I don't think he'll have the impacts that Fox has on both ends.
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay.
I think Lonzo will eventually be better, especially as he's playing alongside LeBron, and he gets more consistency with his jump shot, and just his passing is he's a great playmaker, and I think he'll eventually figure things out. Doing this is always hard because you can never judge a player after seeing a season in a month of them, right? But I still think Lonzo will be better. I will say this: Fox has been very impressive, especially the jump shot. He might be shooting 40% plus from three. Is he still there?
I think so.
Because I remember checking his stats a couple of days ago, and he was there. But unless he just missed a bunch of threes.
He's shooting on splits of 47, 37, and 69. The free throw percentage isn't great, but the 3-point percentage has been good.
What are Lonzo's, Kory?
Give me 1 second just to click on his. He is shooting splits of 40, 35, 57.
What was the free throw?
57.
Yeah, that's
I like that laugh. That's Nick being trying to be nice with his laugh.
I think Lonzo, the intangibles are there, the defense is there, the passing is there. But at the end of the day, the point guard in the NBA nowadays, I think you need to be able to shoot and score. Obviously LeBron could bring him to success, but I just think De'Aaron Fox is more I'm more confident moving forward with De'Aaron Fox. I have a better idea what I'm already getting, where Lonzo, there's some really high potential, but there's no guarantee he's going to get that potential.
Well, I just hope the Kings don't mess De'Aaron Fox like they've done with all, pretty much all of their stars ever since the Kings were relevant over a decade ago, because that front office has done some kind of questionable in the organization. Just hopefully that they change, like the change. They it seems like they've changed for now. Like they're working better. The young guys are, you know, yeah, working well
Gelling.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll bring this new energy and culture to the organization, because it's just been a mess over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I want you guys to know I'm on the hot take side of that.
Okay, actually, I was going to ask you because I was just curious.
Yeah, I think I like De'Aaron Fox. I was high on him going into last season, and obviously he was just the situation I don't think was as great, and the situation this year's been good. And like I just think he's a more complete player than Lonzo right now. Not that Lonzo can't get there, but it's always promising to see a guy in his sophomore year take a stride where Lonzo's kind of remained the same. Obviously, he's just getting into a bigger role with Rondo out. But I've liked Fox early. And the last hot take or shot fake, the Utah Jazz will miss the playoffs this year. Hot take or shot fake?
Oh, that's a very tough one.
You want me to go first again, Jorge?
Yeah, go first, please.
I'm going to go with a shot fake here. I feel like I've bought in way too much Utah Jazz stock to see them miss the playoffs. I don't think they'll get the high seed that we anticipated, but I see them squeezing as the 8th seed and having some type of, dramatic change like they did last year. Is that a trade? Is that someone stepping up and just getting hot? I don't know, but I feel like the Jazz have enough talent on that team. Snyder's a good enough coach where they'll be able to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. We actually had the Jazz ranked, it was 5th in the OTG rankings before the season. Correct me if I'm wrong. 5th?
Yeah, they were pretty high, and I think we had Dylan Jackson on for the preview, and he had them at like the 2 seed or something.
Yeah. I remember, like, we spoke about the Jazz before the season started, and like we thought they were going to be really good. And as Nick said, I have to agree. Maybe they're not that good. They seem to miss Jonas Jerebko a lot for some reason. But I think
a big issue has been Ricky Rubio's shooting has dramatically dropped off from last year, where he was having one of his best shooting seasons, to this year where he's back to being Ricky Rubio that can't shoot.
Yeah, and I've seen the numbers, and actually the Jazz are allowing the most point guard points in the league too, which is surprising considering how good of a defensive unit they are. But I just think that they'll figure things out. They won't miss the playoffs, but they'll be in the tough battle at the end of the season to get in there.
For me, I'm actually going with hot take. I think they do miss the playoffs now. Now, this is only dependent on the fact that if this is the roster come the end of the year, I don't think this is the roster that makes a playoff spot. If they manage to make a move and they can add some kind of scoring punch to this team, then I'm probably not going to feel the same way. But as of right now, with how this roster is currently constructed, because they really didn't make any moves this offseason, I'm going with hot take that they missed the playoffs.
Interesting. I think one thing for the Jazz, why they don't make moves is they're hoping for a lot of internal development. I don't think they've gotten a ton this year. If anything, you can say Mitchell's having a worse season than last year. I would expect them to probably make some type of small trade. Nothing drastic, but just enough to give them a shot in the arm for their offense.
Yeah, kind of like the Jay Crowder thing they did last year. Where they acquired this glue guy. I'm a big fan. Well, not a big fan, but I'm a Crowder supporter, and I think he'll be better. So if they find that kind of deal in the market that works for them, maybe claim somebody off waivers. If there's an opening right there, that they might as well take it, right?
Yeah. I think there'll be teams willing to sell. They'll have to make the decision if they want to move anything. That Derek Favors contract is somewhat movable because the second year is not fully guaranteed, so someone could get some cap relief if they make a move on that.
For sure. I could throw in one more. I'll throw in one more.
All right.
This is from me. Luka Doncic will make an all-star his rookie season. Hot take or shot fake?
I'm going to go shot fake because he's not going to make it with the starters, and the coaches I don't think will give it to a rookie just because there's so many great players in the West.
Fair. I had to ask because last night I was watching him torture the Celtics, and I was just like, wow, this kid could be an all-star.
He is very good, and if he was in the East, maybe there's more of an opportunity, but also the fact that it's the coaches and not the fans, I think would hurt him. If it was just pure fan voting for the reserves, I think he'd have a better chance.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Ben Simmons didn't make the team last year. and that was his rookie of the year season. Like Adam Silver chose a bunch of like Goran Dragic. Like he was good for the Heat, but a lot of people argued Simmons was better, and I think he was. So if Simmons couldn't make it in the East with a bunch of injuries, with all of the circumstances possible for him going in the team, maybe that's just them don't wanting, the rookies in there. I don't know, but I don't think.
I will say that I think last year, I think I fell for this too, that Adam Silver really didn't pick who the injury reserves were. He simply announced who was next up in voting. It wasn't like he was just randomly picking somebody of his own preference. He was going off the list of voting, because I had a
rant,
an angry rant with somebody. I think it was one of the Sixer writers. And I got called snarky, I believe. This one I got called snarky, jackass snarky. I'm a man of many names. But yeah, I think he wasn't just picking off who he just thought deserved it. It was based off some kind of voting.
Yeah.
Well, even then, it's still crazy because Simmons was like really good last year.
Right.
Really, really good.
Right. Coaches are going to give it to the guy who they think probably isn't going to have another opportunity again, and also think like Luka's probably going to make the All-Star game the rest of his career, other than maybe like his last couple years.
Yeah, we can definitely the hype has been real. He's met the hype.
Yeah, Dallas has looked pretty good too. I've been impressed.
They're 9-9 right now, right? 500.
Yeah, a nice win over Boston, who's been struggling, but they definitely have shown some nice flashes. They've also had some bad games too, but Dallas and Luka, something to keep an eye on all year. But anything else, guys, before we get out of here?
No, that's gonna wrap it up for me.
All right.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, as always, Jorge, thank you for hopping on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Kory, always a pleasure talking hoops. And check out the show, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, Google Play, Dash Radio, and YouTube.
Peace out, knuckleheads.
See ya later. Hope to be back.